Welcome to our sociology lecture today. We are going to look into the introduction to sociology. Remember last time we talked about the syllabus requirements of sociology according to the Zimbabwean heritage-based curriculum. Today we are going to look at introduction to sociology. I've got just few questions to ask you. Have you wondered how the world works? Do you know how the world works? We've got America, we've got Europe, we've got Nigeria, we've got Zimbabwe, we've got Botswana. I'm not talking about science. I'm talking about the world of people. Remember, we are living in two different worlds. We've got the scientific world, we've got the social world. So when we are talking about the social world, we are talking about the world of people, how people live, how people interact. So that is what we are going to look at. I've got things that I've been wondering. Remember, to 2017, we had some demonstration that happened in Zimbabwe. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that the army, the police, and the people joined forces into the peaceful demonstrations that led to the removal of the former president R.G. Robert Mugabe? Have you asked yourself about that? And also, ask yourself, isn't it this same army in 2013 that shot people? Isn't it this same army in 2013 that displaced people in their peaceful protests? Isn't it the same police that used to disrupt any form of protest in Zimbabwe? But ask yourself, what happened in 2017 for them to join forces? What really happened? So you find that this is what we call the world of people. This is what we call the social world. So you find out that all these questions, they come back to one thing. They come back to how this world of people live. Apart from that, have you ever asked yourself, or have you ever wondered, why in class do we raise our hands when teacher is teaching? We raise our hands, but automatically, when we go at a dinner table, you will never see any child raising their hand. Have you ever wondered or asked yourself, why another section of people will say, I love to listen to Jabrez's music. The other sect of people, the other group of people will say, I love to watch Winky D. And here come another section of group of people. They will tell you, no. The god of all music is Alec Macheso. Ask yourself, why do we have such differences? You go to a certain area in Bulawayo, you find people saying, we love Imbube music. You go to another sect of people, they'll say, we love Sungura music. You go to another group of people, they will tell you, oh, I love Zim dancehall, I love gospel. But these are people within a single area of living. These are people that will find in Harare. These are people that will find in one city in Bulawayo, but they will have different principles, different preferences when it comes to the music which they listen. Well, let me tell you, that's not a problem. It is what we are going to unpack today. So today, you'll be able to know, where do you belong in the world? What is your space in the world? And where is your space in the world? And this brings us now to look into what sociology is. Remember, when we are talking about sociology, we should not be able to give a blind eye, as if that we don't see, as if that we don't know, as a subject. How did sociology as a subject came to be known? We give all the credentials to a man called Auguste Comte, for he is referred as the founder of sociology, as a subject. So for it to be called sociology as a subject, it relates back to the ideas of a man who was called Auguste Comte. But today, we're not going to look much on what Auguste Comte did for us to reach to the point that we now have a subject called sociology. It will be, it will be a subject of another day. But today we want to understand what sociology as a field is. We want to define sociology. We want to understand the key concept in sociology. We want to understand what components build up to what we call sociology as a subject. I would say sociology is a scientific study of the society. Sociology is the scientific study of the society, its social life, human behavior. While we are studying a society, social life, human behavior, we are trying to understand, or we are trying to examine how groups, organizations, and social institutions influence individuals. So sorry, this is a long definition of sociology. According to me, I'm saying sociology is the scientific study of the society, social life, human behavior, examining how groups, organizations, and social institutions influence individuals. But however, you can also try to define sociology in your own understanding. Some would just make it short to say sociology is the scientific study of the society. You are done. But to me, I need to be very specific and encompass everything. So to me, that is my long definition of sociology. So sociology as a subject, it analyzes social patterns, marriage, trends on marriage. Why do we now have more marriages than before? Why do we have high divorce rates in Zimbabwe? Why do we have low marriage rates in countries like Japan? Those are social patterns that we try to analyze in sociology. Then, besides analyzing social patterns, we also analyze interactions. How do people interact within a society? You go to Mbare, there is a certain way how people there in Mbare interact with each other. Sorry. How they understand each other, the languages they use, all those things. It encompasses what sociology try to bring to the ground. And also structures. It also analyzes structures. In each and every institution, there is a structure. In the institution of education, we've got a structure. We've got the school head there, or the principal, the deputy, the senior teacher, going down up to the prefects, class monitor, But sociology will be very much interested on how those structures come to play and what are the effects of those structures in the associations of people in an education setup. So it also analyzes family dynamics. Family dynamics. We've got different types of families. Now we have same-sex families, single-parent families, nuclear families, etc. And it goes on to analyze the dynamics of the global communities. When we are now looking on global communities, we are looking on social causes and consequences of certain behaviors or certain setups in the society. I hope we are together there on understanding what sociology encompasses. Remember, when we defined sociology, we had a term there, is the scientific study of the society. So what is a society? And how does it come to play with sociology? Come to think of it, how big the society is. You can take society from a macro to from a micro society to the macro society. You can take it, for example, the Bulawayo community. You can take it from the Harare community. You can take it from the national community, Zimbabwe as a country. You can take it at a large scale, looking at a continental level like Africa. Or you look at a globe whereby you are looking at all continents, isn't it? Which is the whole human world. So it's a large thing. Society is a large thing because it encompasses the economic aspects, the political aspects of the whole world. So when you are saying sociology is the study, is the scientific study of the society, we are looking at a global sorry. We are looking at a bigger thing. We are looking at a society as a bigger thing. So now let's come to a definition of what a society is. You know, a society is a group of people who share similar culture and territory. In Zimbabwe, for example, it's a society. Because that's why if you go to South Africa, they'll tell you are a Zimbabwean. Even if you are a Shona, you are Ndebele, you are Kalanga. In South Africa, they say you are a Zimbabwean. So which means we are sharing a similar culture. We are sharing a territory. Whether you are Shona, you are Ndebele, when you go to South Africa, you are all said you are Zimbabweans. Go to Europe there, you'll be called African. Whether you're coming from Zimbabwe, you're coming from South Africa, you're coming from Mauritius, they'll say he's an African. So a society is defined as a group of people who share a similar culture and territory. Remember culture again. We said a similar culture and territory. There comes another word that is called culture. Culture is a one large aspect of the society, for it encompasses the smallest day-to-day interaction to the biggest aspect like politics. You know, that's why they say there is what we call a political culture. If you come into Zimbabwe, they'll say this is a political culture of ZANU-PF, this is a political culture of CCC or MDC, this is a political culture of ANC, which means there is a similarity within that political definition of those people. So that political arrangement of the ANC, it has similarities that people from a different sect can tell that this is a political culture of ANC, or this is a political culture of Zimbabwe, this is a political culture of ZANU-PF. So a society is very huge, but it can also be understood from the smaller aspect. When you are talking of the smaller aspect of the society, we are talking, for example, you are alone in your room, you are studying, or you are singing. So, as an individual in your room singing, already that's a society at a micro level. But now remember, when you are singing, you are not alone. Maybe you've got your siblings, your parents outside, they are hearing what you are singing. Okay, you are singing Majaivana or you are singing Jah Praiser in your room. But remember, the song that you are going to sing at a particular time, it will define your society. It will define your culture. It will define your peer. It will define your age group. It will define your upbringing, or even define the school that you attended. So whatever you are doing as an individual, whatever you are doing as a person, it defines the society where you are coming from. It defines the culture which you are from. Okay, so let's continue about the society, because I'm much particular about this aspect. I'm much particular about the society, because the short term of definition of sociology is about the scientific study of the society. Do you understand that the type of music that you are going to sing, it can give another person the clue of type of friends you have, the area you live, where you grew up, the school you attended, as I said earlier, and sometimes I detect whether the person walking ahead of you is from where. Remember, the nature of music that you like to sing can even detect whether you are from Makokoba or you're from Mbari. It's because of the type of music that you are singing. If you love Wulengende, listening to songs of Wulengende, obvious, somewhere. we can try to locate which area you're coming from, isn't it? So it's because of the type of the music that you enjoy. So it can tell us the society where you are coming from. So when we say sociology is the study of society and human behavior, you need to understand that sociology is a broad subject. It is in this instance why we say sociology is the mother of all social sciences. So if you look at political science, geography, economics, all those subjects, they have a chunk in sociology. They have part and parcel where you can locate them in sociology, because we are talking of a subject that understand and study the human society and the human behavior. You cannot study economics without a human being. You cannot study economics without a society. You cannot study medicine without a society. You cannot study medicine without a human being. That's why when you are also studying medicine, when you are looking at patterns of diseases, you are looking at a certain society, isn't it? You are looking at a certain society in what disease prevalence are involved there in that society. So you need to understand that sociology is the mother of all social sciences, because it includes all other fields that you can think of studying. So any other social science subject, it dates back or it refers back to sociology. So that is another discussion of another day on how we can say sociology is the mother of all other social sciences, where we are going to link sociology and all other social sciences. So there is an aspect there that I will need you to understand, that sociology differs from other subjects. How does sociology differ from all other subjects? Sociology is different from other social sciences because it focuses especially on the broader systematic study of social structures. So we are saying it looks at the broader systematic study of social structures, institutions, and interactions rather than individuals. For example, psychology. Psychology will look on the human mind, but sociology will look at the broader aspects. For example, you look at economics, it will look at the economic aspect of the society. So this is what makes sociology different, because it looks at the broader systematic study of a social structure. Apart from that, let's look on the other aspect, where we are looking on the structure versus the individual. While other subjects like psychology will focus on individual mental processes and behaviors, sociology will analyze how social structures and group pressures shape those behaviors. So when you are looking on that, you are trying to understand the key differences between sociology and other social sciences. So apart from that, we also try to understand the broad scale of sociology and other subjects. So I was talking on why sociology differs from other social sciences. Then I looked on the issue of the social structure. Now I'm looking on the issue of broad scale approach. Sociology covers a wide range of social life, from intimate family units to global organization, whereas other disciplines like economics or political science, they will focus on specific domains like markets and governments. So on a broad scale approach, sociology will look at a wide range of social life, meaning to say from intimate family unit, like from a family unit which involves two people, to a community unit which involves a village, to a broad aspect which involves the nations or the world at large, isn't it? Then We also have another aspect, which is the sociological perspective. Sociology specifically analyzes social change, social inequality, and social interaction. So how people interact within the social status, with how they interact within the society where they live. So that is why sociology differs from other subjects. Also, apart from that, there is what we call the interdisciplinary method. While other sciences may use rigid methods, sociology often blends various approaches, including qualitative survey and quantitative uh, method of data collection. On the qualitative nature, we can use ethnography, while it's on the quantitative match, we can use other components of a quantitative surveys. So when you look at that, you will understand that sociology is a subject that encompasses both research methods, which means it uses both qualitative and quantitative method. Different from other subjects of science, whereby you cannot use qualitative method when you're studying science. You need to look at quantitative methods. For example, while psychology might study a person's individual mental health challenges, sociology studies differently. Sociology will examine social structures such as poverty, education system, as a contributors to mental health issues within an entire community. So you will find that sociology looks at a broader spectrum of an aspect within the what? Within the society. I hope we are together there. So the other aspect that we need to cover now when we are understanding sociology is what we call the sociological imagination. How, as a social scientist, you need to imagine things. How, as a social scientist, you need to see things, study things. What mechanism, what ideas do you come up with? So sociological imagination was coined by C. Wright Mills in 1959. So what does this mean? So sociological imagination is the ability to connect personal, private troubles, which is individual experiences, to public social issues, which is the large-scale historical, social, and cultural structures. So, for example, you need to understand my intellectual ability, not just from a personal perspective, but from my experiences, all right, from my family background, my educational achievements, my economic being. Do I have enough books for me to study? Do we have a generational blood of being having high intelligent quotients? So all those aspects is what sociology looks about. So whenever you are studying something in sociology, you need to have this sociological imagination. So sociological imagination enables individuals to understand their own lives within the context of their time and social surrounding, shifting focus from individual failure to broad social phases. For example, let me give an example of a child that will go and steal from the neighbors. You know, from a sociological perspective, you don't only describe that as juvenile delinquents, but you need to look at a broad aspect. Is this child coming from a poor family where she is hungry? She doesn't have food at home. And the only method of survival that came to the mind of that child is to go and steal at the neighbor's house. Or is there any criminality that runs within that family? You know? Even if they've got a lot of food at home, but this child will still have that genetic influence on criminality, whereby he wants to go and steal, not because they don't have at home, but because there are genes within him or her that is allowing that child to go and steal. So from sociological imagination, we are looking on all those aspects when we are deliberating any sociological aspect. So the key concept and examples that you can use there is the personal trouble versus the public issues. When we are looking on the personal trouble versus the public issues, we are looking at viewing personal issues like being unemployed as part of a wider public issue, such as a recession and economic trend. For example, in Zimbabwe, there is a high level of unemployment. Do we ascertain this high level of unemployment to individual issues? Or we ascertain the high level of unemployment into Zimbabwe into the issue of economic decay? The country is going through a rough economic path that is leading to unemployment. It is the reason why we've got a lot of graduates in Zimbabwe that are becoming vendors, selling airtime. It is because of the national economic phase, not as an individual lack of zeal to look for employment. You can also look it into the historical context. For example, analyzing how historical events shape personal biography. For example, the number of kids a person can have, they can relate back to the historical events. In your family, maybe perhaps people need a small family. That can also shape your family structure. For example, war. During wartime, it can shape people's personal choices. Are we together there? Apart from that, you can also have sociological imagination in the aspect of social structure. So when you are doing sociological imagination in the terms of social structure, you are understanding how social institutions, for example, family, education, and religion, and how these structures influence individual behaviors. For example, religion, how can it influence how you ascertain or you look on the issues of employment? You find out in the religion you have got other sects that view employed work as not holy. They believe in working for yourself. For example, let me give just an example of coffee drinking. Do you know that some can just see coffee drinking as just a beverage? But to other, coffee drinking can be as a ritual, or as a stimulant habit, or as a global economic interaction. That's why you'd find some deals are made during coffee. Can you have a cup of coffee while they are negotiating a financial deal? It doesn't mean that these people are thirsty or these people are hungry. So the other example which I was talking about was the example of marriage, whereby we are saying that marriage can be viewed not only as a personal romantic choice, but as a social institution with historical, legal, and economic factors. For example, how many ladies you marry or how many men you marry can also be determined by the legal aspect, also from the economic perspective. I give an example. For example, you meet Dr. Tungwarara's daughter today, who is the CEO of Tap and Go. Would you resist her? Maybe not, because you'll be viewing as that marriage with her to have economic factors. She's coming from a rich background, and marrying her also will be financial aid to you. So that's why we need to understand everything into the sociological imagination concept. I guess we've grasped the concept that we defined today. We tried by any means to look at what sociology is, what is society, what is culture in relation to sociology, why is sociology different from other social sciences, and lastly we looked on the sociological imagination. So Thank you all for your time. Thank you for having this time to go through today's concept. Hope to meet you tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss a lot of information that we are going to share on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.